my privilege to announce the speaker for today's chapel. He reigns from Chicago. He has the best hair on campus. He is one of the realest people I have ever met in my entire life. Can we give an awesome TCA round of applause for Coach Willis?
Appreciate the completely overwhelming introduction about Trey. I got to tell you, I'm proud of Trey. Thinking back, remember him just being in my Bible class and playing ball and stuff, and then now here he is on staff and bringing the word and being up here preaching the way he does. I'm proud. Let's give him a hand. Nobody ever. I've got a couple things here. I don't have any slides, I don't have pictures, there's no videos, so I know all of you are probably just going straight to your chin support and you're ready to go to sleep. So we're just gonna have a little talk like I normally do, and we'll see how everything goes. But I do have this. This is an airport. So we've had our little chat about falling asleep in chapel. Okay. Listen, I know, I've said it a million times, I get it. It's after lunch, all your bellies are full. I completely understand. It happens to me. I know kids watch for me to have that little doze over here. A few weeks ago, Trey was speaking, and I was just into every word. My eyes are wide open. I'm like, yeah, bring it, Trey, doink. And there they went, and I was like, oh no, here we go. So I start, pinching the inside of my legs, rinsing my mouth out with water, do everything. But, I survived, so I understand it. But help me out and don't surrender, okay? If my man Lucius, okay, he's got narcolepsy, so he falls asleep. He fell asleep standing up talking to me one time, so I get it, okay? But if you're sitting up and you fall asleep, you're fine. Just understand that I'm gonna warn everybody else, hey, plug your ears, here it comes. And this is, so, sleep at your own risk, let's put it that way, okay? I'm prepared for the weeping. Alright, so no mere hanky for me. I have a towel for as I start crying and as I start sweating. But hopefully it won't be that bad and we'll go. My biggest concern, who knows if you're going to get anything out of what I say, but my biggest concern has been making sure that I don't go over by much. Last time I had some scathing emails from a couple of teachers, and I've just recovered from the pain suffered from those. So the last thing I want to do, I won't name any teachers. If you come to me later, I'll tell you who it was. But it did happen. So I'll do it. I promise you, my biggest concern has been not to go for a crazy long time. I know that's the least of your concerns, but believe me, it's mine. I still hear about the hour and a half chapel service the last time I spoke, so hopefully it won't do that. You know me, I always like to start with a joke. So I had a long one that I tested out on a couple of people and they didn't get it. That's not a very good test when that happens. So I'm just going to surrender on that. So here's a quick joke, okay? And when I ask you the question, you say, we don't know what, okay? And then I'll give you the answer. So let's pretend, blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right. What do you call a wandering nun? A Roman Catholic. Because well, that's right. What's up, guys? Okay. We're going old school. What happened? Okay. I hate being tied down behind this thing, so I'm probably going to try to wander around some, but I've got my notes on paper and I've got my notes on my phone, so if I get, I'm trying to keep myself focused so I don't wind up on some of my rabbit trails. So let's just hope that it works out that way. But basically what I'm going to share with you today, I know last time we talked about Rachel at length, and there's basically nothing that you don't know about Rachel after that chapel service, but I'm going to talk to you about a couple-year period of my life that, in essence, it's going to explain to you how I wound up coming to Trinity. It wasn't as easy as just, hey, we got a job, you want to go to Trinity? People, yeah, and then come on over here and teach it. It was a long process and painful at times, times where I asked God where he was. I mean, literally saying, look, man, what are you doing? And I just didn't know what was happening. But at the end of it, hopefully I'll be able to pull it together and tell you what it meant to me and how it's changed me, and hopefully something you guys will be able to apply in your lives if you're going through difficult situations. But especially a revelation for me at the end of it that has made all the difference for me since that took place. So let's go ahead and pray first, and then I'll start pouring you and we'll get going, okay? Father, we're grateful for this time. I know I am. You know I've prayed many times to you that as I get up here and speak, I pray that you would just rid me of me. Help me to get out of the way. Don't let me say anything that you don't want me to say, and please help me not to forget anything that needs to be said. So speak through me. I pray that you help the kids to be receptive, help them stay awake. And Lord, if there's one person that gets anything out of it that winds up helping them, then we'll certainly know to give you all praise and glory. We'll do that anyway. So thank you for these kids. Thank you for the school. Thank you ahead of time for the job that you've given me. And Lord, I pray you just be with us during this time. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, 2008. I'm driving into work. Now, I've been in the car business at this time for about 22 years, okay? I was working at Gordon Chevrolet at the time, and as I pull up to the dealership, about a mile away, I'm sitting at a stoplight, and my phone rings. Well, the best man of my wedding, a guy named Brad Burnett, worked at Gordon Chevrolet. He was the general sales manager, and I had told him about 5 years ago that we had a guy that got fired. I was surprised by the fire, and I remember seeing the shock on his face, and I'm heartless for him. So I had told Brad, I said, look, if anything ever happens and you know something's going to happen to me, let me know. Okay, call me ahead of time. And he laughed and I laughed and we went on. Never thought anything about it. And I'm sitting at this light and the phone rings. It's Brad. So I pick it up and, Bud, what's up? He says, well, you asked me to call you if anything was ever about to happen, and it's about to happen. And I went, no. It felt like you karate kicked me right in the middle of my gut. And I said, was it something that I did? Is there a reason? He said, no. He said, he'll explain everything to you, but Nate's going to let you go when you get here. And I had been at that store for 10 years. Actually, I was about a month shy of 10 years. And understand, this was a place where every customer that I did a contract with that came through my office and I shook their hands and said goodbye to them, I told them the same thing. I said, look, you ever need anything? I'm here. Look me up. Give me a call. Other than when I'm off, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. It would take a team of wild horses with log chains to be able to pull me out of here. I'm going no place. All right? So for me to hear that from Brad was a pretty big shock to the system. So I get to work. I'm pulling around the used car building. I always parked on the side of it. And I remember sitting there scared to death, literally shaking, grabbing hold of the steering wheel, trying to get control of my emotions. Mine's going a million miles an hour. What am I going to do? Where am I going to work? Who am I going to work with? I have to go home and tell my wife I got fired. I have to tell my kids, hey, your dad got fired. I have to tell my friends. All of those things racing through my head. What am I going to do to make money? Just a million miles an hour is going. And in the middle of it, there was, I don't want to say that there was a calm, but there was a moment where all of a sudden the verses started going through my head. Verses that I've known for years, but never really applied. The fact that God says, I'll supply all your needs. Cast all your care on me because I care for you. And as I'm thinking about these verses, and there was many other ones that went through, I had enough sense to stop, and I said, you know what? I started praying. And I remember asking God, I said, look, I don't know what you're doing. And for 2 years, I didn't know what he was doing. I said, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening, I don't know why, I don't know what's going to happen to me. But I said, you're going to have to help me, because I don't know that I can make it through this. So I get them praying, go upstairs, he lets me go, I come back in and pack my stuff up. Of course, I had 10 years worth of stuff stored there, pictures and everything, and then say goodbye to the people that I've worked with for all those years, and hopped in the car as I'm driving out. I mean, I'm looking at this place. It was like a second home to me. I'm going, I'm never coming back here as an employee again. And so I get home, talk with my wife, explain to her, of course she's mad. She's still a little bitter about that, but I can't get her to let go. But anyway, she was very upset about the whole situation. And from that point, you know, the first week, you're like, I got an extra week off. You know, I'm going to find a job. This is no big deal. I didn't know at the time what I was going to wind up going to do, so I took a week off. I did some stuff around the house. I was fishing a little bit. It was like, hey, this ain't so bad. And then I started looking for a job. Actually, during that week, I was still looking for stuff, but started trying to find some stuff. And I went about a month to 2 months and couldn't find anything. And one day I had 2 calls from 2 different people about me getting back into the car business. And it wound up working out that I took another job at another dealership. Was an okay job, pay was good, lasted about 3 months, was over with. Went another couple months without work, and then I had another friend that called me, starting a brand new dealership, just a little used car dealership, and wanted a finance manager. So he said, do you want to do it? I said, yeah, I'm in. So took that job, thought, this is great, I'm set, we're going to be okay. Coming on Saturday, everybody's boxing stuff up. The store just opened 3 months earlier. And they're boxing stuff up, and I come in, I go, what are you doing? They go, well, we're not doing so good, the owner decided to close the store. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, I've never lost a job in my life, and in 6 months' time, I've lost 3. So we pack it up, and I have to go back home, tell my wife the same situation. And it was at that point that the fun really started, and that's being sarcastic. You got to understand a couple things, and here's one of my biggest concerns about telling you guys this story, okay? The teachers, the staff will get it more, I think, than you guys will, unless I can describe it well enough. The stuff that you feel as a man, as a husband, as a head of a household, as a father, about losing your job and being unemployed and not being able to find work. It's embarrassing. It's extremely frustrating because you would think that you'd be able to. I mean, I've been a manager for about 19 years in the car business, in charge of millions of dollars of transactions and so forth. And here I am out here trying to find work. I can't find anything outside the car business. And the 2 jobs I found in the car business, those are done in 3 months. How's that happen? Every store I've been at, I'd stayed at for about 10 years, so I wasn't the kind of guy that moved around all the time. But I'm going to use a word you probably know, it's emasculating. It makes you feel like less of what you're supposed to be, less than a man. Okay, I felt less of a husband. I felt like less of a father. And it's just a gut-wrenching feeling to have that as a man. Now, again, trying to get that across to you, I don't know if you can understand it completely, but at that point, I get on unemployment, all right? $275 a week. Now, some of you guys are probably, oh, wow, $275, that's pretty good, all right? I was making between $1,500 and $2,000 a week before that, and now I'm making $275 a week, and getting taxes out of it, and, well, I actually was still tithing off of that as well. So, $275 went down real fast, believe me, it doesn't go far. So, what I kept running into was this, and I'm sure Ms. Denton would appreciate the fact when I mentioned this, there was 2 reasons why I kept getting turned down for work, okay? Well, one would be, everything I found paid less than what the unemployment paid. So whatever I could find, it was always less than that. I'm like, how? What's going on? And the other reason would be because I didn't have a degree. I hadn't finished. I was about 15 hours short of getting my degree. So there's a point to be made here with this. It didn't matter what I looked at the time. And one of the things that took place, you weren't able just to go in and say, hey, I'd like to fill an application and talk to somebody, get an interview. At the time, I don't know if it's changed now, everything was online. You had to do an application online, and then once they looked at it, then they would schedule you for an interview, and you could come in. Well, I knew if I could get in front of them, that I'd have a chance to sell them, that I could convince them, hey, give me a shot, I can do this, whatever it is. Could never get to that point. I remember applying for a job at delivering bottled water. How hard can that be, right? I mean, I guess you had to be, I mean, I was strong enough that I could handle that because, I was swollen and everything. But I think, okay, I got a good chance at this. The next day I get an email, sorry, we're not going to be able to help you out. You don't have your degree. That was the first one that give me that. I go, bottled water? Come on. So, didn't work out. I kept looking around. A couple weeks later, I found there was a website that I would go to for jobs in the city. And there was one for a mosquito sprayer. You know, the guy drives around in the truck and sprays the woods and that kind of stuff. I don't, you know, look, I think it paid like $50,000 or something like that. I'm like, I'm in. Okay, first of all, I hate mosquitoes. So killing mosquitoes would have been a riot for me. Mosquitoes are one of my questions for God when I get to heaven. What was the need for mosquitoes? I don't care if they feed other animals. Why do they have to bite us? You know, that and fire ants. There's my two things that I have to ask God. There's no big doctrinal questions. I just want to know about those two things. So anyways, there's one of my rabbit trails. So the mosquito sprayer job. I do the application. They sent me back an email that sounded like it was, okay, we might have a chance here. And then I get an email the following day after that that says, sorry, you're not qualified, you don't have a degree. So that one ticked me off. So I wound up calling the you know, whoever it is you talk to, human resource person, saying, can you let me talk to the manager? Let me talk to the manager. I said, yeah, I want to know if you can pull my application, take a look at this, and tell me what's going on. They looked at it and said, no, you don't have a degree. I said, this is spraying for mosquitoes. What difference does my degree mean? Let me come in and meet you so we go over this. What difference does that make? He says, sorry, it's company policy. We can't hire you unless you have a degree. I said, but listen to yourself, which probably wasn't helping me get the job at the time. And he goes, yeah, but you have to mix the chemicals. Mix the chemicals? You know, are we splitting the atom here? Are we talking about nuclear fusion or something? No, we're about mixing chemicals to spray mosquitoes. And you're telling me that because I don't have a degree, I'm not qualified for that? He said, yep, that's the way it is. I said, well, thanks. So, you know, I'm 0 for 2 for that. Can't get a job delivering bottled water or spraying for mosquitoes, believe it or not. So I start doing basically whatever it is that I can find, just to make a little bit of extra money. And the situation is when you're on employment, you have to report any income that you get during that time. So if your income, if what you earn and you report it is over X number of dollars or a percentage of what you're getting for unemployment, they just take it out of your employment. So, you know, I could go and make $50, but if I reported it to unemployment, which I pretty much had to do, then they would just short my unemployment by $50. So, you know, here I'm trying to find work, trying to do something to get a little extra money, couldn't do it. So, remember my wife, I still got this towel on my shoulder, I'm no world. My wife works at a preschool not far from here, and her boss had needed some stuff done around the school, needed some yard work done, and pulling weeds and stuff like that. And so she had said something to Jill, said, look, if your husband wanted to earn a little bit, I could pay him with something to come over here and clean some of this stuff up. So she asked me, and I go, okay, yeah. You know, a year ago, I'm a manager of a multi-million-dollar thing, and you want me to come pull weeds? I'm in. So I swallowed my pride and said, yeah, I'll do it. So never forget, I'm there in my jeans and my shirt, I'm sweating, I got my gloves on, I'm crawling around the outside of this fence, pulling vines off of the fence and cutting them at the bottom. And it had been at the school that week, they were having, what did they call them? Community helper week. So, like policemen, they bring policemen in their uniform, they bring firemen in their uniform, and EMTs in their uniform, stuff like that. So they were meeting community helpers is what they were doing. Well, I'm kneeling down next to the fence and pulling these weeds, and I remember looking up, and I mean, right at the fence, here's 3 kids like standing there, and they're all standing there right next to each other, and they're kind of grinning at me, and I look up, I go, hey, they go, are you a community helper? And I kind of cocked my head and said, no, I'm an unemployed loser. And these kids looked at each other. You see them standing there and go, the one looked to the one side, the one that went to the other, and they went, okay, sir, we'll see you later. I knew they were going to start yelling, stranger danger, you know. It was one of the few things that got me to chuckle at myself, that, you know, hey, I'm an unemployed loser. But from that point on, that's literally how I was looking at myself. I told my wife, she said, you're terrible. I said, listen, I had to do something. I need to have something to laugh about. So, that was me. There's my view of myself, okay? I'm an unemployed loser. That's literally how I was looking at myself. And nothing can change that short of actually finding work. So, it's not bad enough that, you know, really I've lost 3 jobs. I can't find anything. I don't have my degree yet, which I was working on then at the time. You know, I'm pulling weeds to make an extra $25 to put gas in the car. And, you know, you have to start making decisions. at that point. As a household, you have bills, you have things that you have to pay. I know you guys don't have to worry about that much. Teachers, again, they don't understand this. But you have to start making choices. Okay, what am I going to pay? I got to keep my house. I got to keep at least one of my cars. We got to have food. We got to have electricity. So, you know, you start, there's things that you just can't pay. And that's exactly what happened to us. And understand now, my job as a finance manager was, if you came in to buy a car, my job was to look at your credit and determine if you were qualified to purchase a car. Well, if you had good credit, there was nothing to it. You just come in, which one do you want? Here's your rate, boom, sign up. But if you had bad credit because you hadn't paid your bills, we called you a bogue, all right? You were bogus. So, and people would bring me credit applications and they'd show it and I'd see a real low beacon score, but dude, they're a bogue, they can't buy anything. And they'd come up and they'd say, well, if you look, they lost their job at such and such time, and from that point on, that's when it got bad. They're starting to reestablish now. And I go, please, it doesn't matter. Okay? I can't get anything done with it. Well, now that's me. I'm sitting in the front row of that movie. I'm the bogue. I'm the one that's had my credit damaged, that couldn't buy anything if I wanted to at the time. And it was, to say it was humiliating is, I can't translate it enough. I can stand up here for 2 hours and you never understand how humiliating it was to know that I was in that spot and that I had never had empathy for those people that were in that situation. So, as embarrassing as this is, I'm going to be transparent with you and tell you some things that we had to do. We had to file for bankruptcy, which at the time was, I almost would have rather stepped in front of the train. Had to let a car get repossessed. Had to take it back to the bank and say, had to drop it off at a dealership, and the dealer was a complete idiot. And I'm saying here, the bank told me to bring this here, that, well, why are you bringing it here? Well, they just told me this is where I was dropping it off. He said, yeah, but why? I don't understand why. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to humiliate me because now he was me being the jerk. He knew what I was doing. He knew that was embarrassing for me. I said, you know why I wanted to do it, okay? Just, here's the keys. I'll call the bank. This is where they're going to pick it up. So I'm filing for bankruptcy. I've got a car that's repossessed, which means we're down to one vehicle now. Bill collectors all day long. Don't forget, I'm at home. My wife now at this point, my wife's working 3 jobs. Teaching, working weddings, and working at New York company at the mall. Get home at 10 o'clock at night. My baby behind is sitting at the house on the computer all day long trying to find jobs and nothing I can do. Watching her come home and grab something to eat, walk back out the door for the next 8 hours. And me standing home as a man, as the head of the household, as the provider. And you know, she'd leave and go to work, and I'd sit at home with a bill collector would call. People were calling saying, hey, you owe us. And here was their guideline. I don't know if it's changed now, I hope it has, because it was traumatizing. But they couldn't call before 8 o'clock in the morning. That was the earliest they could call. And I'm telling you, at 8 o'clock and 1 second, you could watch the clock go to 8 o'clock and the phone will ring. And here they come. And every time, and here's what happens, you don't pick up, they just call back and call back. And it's a continual ring. If I didn't pick it up all day, it would be a continual ring from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, which is the latest that they could call. So you had to pick it up. So I have to pick the call up and go through the whole process. Well, you understand, I lost my job. Well, here's some things that we can do, and here's what you're going to have to, when can you make your next payment? And always, every single call had to end with this. I want you to understand something. I cannot pay you. I am physically unable to pay you. No matter how many times you call me back, I am not able to pay you. And it didn't matter. They keep calling. So every day, you're getting a punch in the gut. Here's the phone ringing. Hoping to goodness the caller ID says somebody that you know. But no, it's this bank, or this bank, or this bank, or this bank, or this bank. And you know you have to go through that whole process. So that's happening every day. My house goes into foreclosure, which means they're going to take the house and I'm going to lose it. I don't know where I'm going to go. I remember asking my daughter, I was driving, somehow we kept her in Trinity. I don't know how in the world we did it, but I was driving Ariel to a volleyball game one time. And I said, look, I got to ask you something. If, said if we lose the house, who do you think you can try to stay with? You have to ask your daughter a question like that. So, you know, it's tough. I remember sitting in the chair and I was looking at the house going, God, You gotta save this somehow. Don't let that's good stuff. Okay? It's just a house. You can find a house later, but you know, I raised my kids there. I didn't. The fact is, if we lost the house, I didn't know where I was going to go. So all those things are happening. The things that are, you know, so embarrassing for me to have to deal with. And in the middle of all that, the foreclosure, the bankruptcy, the repossession, the bill collectors. I know God has a sense of humor. I put this way, I believe he do. Yeah, okay. It's not even a Trinity education, I'm just a teacher. I know God do. But he starts throwing me, he throws me two curves that to this day I have no idea why he did it. And I mean, they were nasty breaking balls. They were knee bucklers. I bumped into a friend at Kmart, of all places. That's where we were doing our shopping. So if some of you frequent Kmart, I'm sorry, but that's, you know, we're normally going to Kmart all the time. So here I'm at Kmart, I bump into a friend. Well, he's way up in the police force, like number 2 in one section of the police force. And I've gone to church with him for years, and he starts talking to me. I say, what was going on? He said, how old are you? At the time, I think I was 47. And he actually stepped back and he looked me up and down. He goes, Cliff, you're in better shape than 75% of the cops that I have on the force right now. He said, if you'll do this, this, and this, he said, get back with me, let me try to go to work for you. He said, the next academy session that we have, I'll have you in it. And I'm like, I want to be a cop. So, which, you know, I get asked all the time with the shaved head and the goatee, and they go, are you a cop? I need to just start saying yes and see what happens. Get free meals or something, try it out. But, so for, you know, 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going through the process. You have to do an application online, all this kind of stuff. I finally get to the point, and I haven't started, you know, I got back working out really hard, so I was, you know, in shape. When I was going to be a cop, I wanted to be in shape when I got there. I think of Robert. Robert's all swole now, you know, so Amanda's husband. But, so there was a point where I had to take an application, or I had to meet somebody. I can't remember where it was at, but I go there to meet them, and they had me fill out, they had me some paperwork to fill out. Well, it's basically a credit application. So, don't forget how my credit is at that point because of everything that's going on. So, I fill it all out. I didn't know it mattered, but I filled it all out, I handed it to her. Handed it to her, and Tom Messer calls me, pastor of the church here, and says, listen, I just want you to know, I've literally just breathed your name to the number 2 guy in the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. This was a different guy than the one that I had run into. And he said, as soon as you finish with the part that you're doing there, he's going to contact him, and he said, listen, you're going to be in the cabinet before you know it, so this is going to work out. I'm like, yeah. Well, lady walks back out. I was the only person that was sitting there, so she comes out and sits down next to me. She shows me my credit application, shows me my credit bureau, and she goes, I hate to say this to you, but she said, you literally qualify in every way, but because of your credit, we can't hire you. I go, that makes a difference of what kind of policeman I'm going to be, and she goes, it's policy, we can't do it. If your beacon score is below a certain amount, then we can't hire you. So, again, I get up, got the car, go home, completely deflated. In my mind, that's job number 4 that I've lost. And some time goes by, of course, I've been telling everybody, it looks like this is going to work out, so I have to tell them, no, I'm sorry, it didn't. I'm driving to pick up Joe one time. And here's the 5th thing that happens to me, or the other curve that got through me. I get a phone call from a guy, and he goes, is this Cliff Willis? I go, yeah. He goes, all right. He said, I want you to listen to me. But he said, you're about to get a job. I said, all right, I'm listening. He says, your wife works with a lady whose husband is my boss. And my boss has called me, and my boss is way up the food chain, and my boss has said to hire you. I said, but I don't know you, and I don't know your boss. He said, doesn't matter. He said, when my boss tells me to hire somebody, I hire him. I said, you don't have to interview him. He said, stop worrying about that part. You've got the job. He said, I need you to meet me tomorrow. I'll walk you around the place. We'll see, you know, I'll show you what you're going to be doing, so on and so forth. And I'm like, I'm in. Last words that he told me, he goes, call your friends and call your family and tell them you have the job. So, you know, I hang up, I'm driving down the road, driving with my knee, my arms are in there, I'm going, yeah, boom, I got this. So I start calling, you know, Chicago. I'm calling friends, my brother in Kentucky, I'm calling my buddy up in Chicago, I'm calling Jill, I'm calling my kids. I'm like, I got a job, I'm in, it's over. All this is over, we're coming back. So I go in, I look at the place. He shows me it was a emergency. Why'd they get louder? It's pretty cool. What was I saying? Oh, the job. Sorry, I got all horrible, butterflies. So, my gosh, I can't. Oh, the job. It was a call center. It was going to be an emergency call center, a national emergency call center, but they were basing it. It was going to be at the base at NES. So it was going to be a federal job, which federal jobs, when I got there, I started talking to the guy. He said, "Look, you're going to love this. First of all, your pay is this. Every holiday you're off." He said, "You can't work more than 8 hours in a day. The benefits are, if we didn't pay you anything but only gave you the benefits, it's worth it." He said, "Your benefits only going to cost you $100 a month. You teachers, do we have any kind of a deal like that? No. I almost want to get sick just so I can use the insurance. It's so expensive." So I was actually glad I had my heart attack because it was like, okay, it pays for something. There we go. So, he's telling me all this stuff is going on. My heart attack only cost me $250. So and the bill was $90,000. So there was the insurance. There's my anyways. So here we go. I'm getting distracted. So I look the place over, we get done. If I show up, I'm in my polished shoes, I've got my khaki pants on, and they're perfectly pleated and ironed, and I've got my light blue button-down shirt on, I've got my power tie on, and I'm looking the part. Okay, I'm looking the part. I come in there, and I'm walking by, how you doing? Yeah, what's up? Like I'm all cool and everything. Okay, I got this job. I'm going to be working here. And we get done talking. I'm there for a couple hours, and he says, "Listen, this is a no-brainer." Okay, I said, "You're going to move up so fast here. You're not even going to be in this section for more than a few months." He said, "You're so overqualified for this." He said, "Just wait and see. This is going to be a good find for you. You're going to be a good fit with this." So I go and tell Joe all that. And he says, "No." He says, "You need to get online and do an application." And he says, "It's going to take you it's going to take 3 or 4 hours. It's long," and it was. So I get on there. I'm having to find out. I'm having to list stepsisters and stepbrother that I have, their kids and their kids. I have to have their names and the phone. It was detailed. It was like, oh my gosh, what do they care? But I guess it was federal, so they're making sure they're not hiring some terrorist that's going to come in there. And so I fill the thing out, and I get to about the 3-hour mark. And lo and behold, I click, and the next page that I come to is financial information. And I go, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't say anything to Joe. I filled it out. You had to take your credit information and go line by line and explain what the standing is and what's happening, all that kind of stuff. So I get done with the whole thing. I submit it, and Joe comes by. And of course, everybody had been upbeat because I got a job, right? The guy told me, tell everybody. And she comes walking by. I'm sitting at the computer desk, and my head was down. She was, "What's wrong?" I said, "I ain't gonna get this job." She was, "Why? Why would you even say that?" I said, "Because of that section right there." She said, "How could that possibly matter?" I said, "I hope I'm wrong." But I said, "Mark my words." And the next day I get a phone call from the guy that had told me I had the job. I said, "Cliff," I go, "Yeah." I go, "Let me guess." He goes, "I had no idea." He said, "When you came in here," he said, you didn't have the look, whatever that is. And he said, "I just thought for sure that all that was just a no-brainer. I thought that was the least of our concerns." So I had no idea. I said, "No, you know the deal, you know part of the story." I said, "If you could look at my credit bureau from 2008, the first half from then on, it's almost 800 beacon square. I could buy whatever I wanted, everything was fine." He said, "You know what, I can see that," but he said, "I can't." He said, "Listen, I'm going to go to bed because this is crazy." So he says, "Give me a few days to work on this." And he starts making phone calls. He said, "I literally started writing letters to supervisors that weren't even there, that were from out of state, that were way up the food chain." And he said, "I've called everybody that I can." He called me back about 3 days later and said, I can't work it out." He said, "I'm sorry, but I think it's a mistake." And he said, "But there's nothing I can do." He said, "I can't give you a job." So, job number 5 for me that I've lost in about a year and a half. Now, by now, all of you are probably ready to step in front of the train. I understand it. So this isn't as fun as the Rachel talk where we get to talk about, we're almost drowning and all that kind of stuff. I know it's, this is not near as interesting. But here was the situation. Here's where I was at the time. That was when I really hit a spot. where I got low, and I mean lower than low. Everybody's done something that they're ashamed of, right? Everybody's done something where they go, yeah, I'm a little ashamed of that, okay? I wasn't ashamed of anything that I've done. I was ashamed to be me. I was ashamed for Jill, that she had to say I was her husband. I was ashamed for my kids to have to tell their friends that I was their dad. And I slipped into depression, and I used to laugh at people when they talked about depression. This was years ago. But, I go, depressed? What could you be that depressed about? And I was there. I was right in the middle of it. My only self-worth at that time was when my wife came home from working her 3 jobs that the house was clean for. That was it. That was the only thing that gave me value at the time. In my mind, was that house was spotless. Now, Jill may have secretly liked the fact that I was unemployed because she never made me clean house or anything, but that was the only thing I could do that would make me feel good. The only thing I could do that would give me any value with myself. And I had friends later after I'd come out of it, started working here, and they saw the change in me, that told me, said, man, you had a cloud following you around like nothing I'd ever seen before. They were like, it was painful to be around you. You were in such bad shape. And it didn't get any better. I felt myself slip into that spot, and it was bad at the time. But every time, now I never thought about harming myself. Okay, here's the closest I ever came, and I'm just being okay. I would purposely drive without my seatbelt, because thinking, hey, if I get a wreck, then my wife will get the life insurance. Okay, so I was walking the edge. I'm driving without no seatbelt. Okay, I don't care if I get hit. My wife will get the money, my kids will get the money, everything will be fine. So, but it was a conscious thought. I didn't drive reckless, like I didn't blow through stoplights. It hit me. But I did honestly not wear a seatbelt because if something happened to me, my family did that. It was like a wonderful life. I wasn't standing on the end of the bridge, but it was at that point when I was really low, when I would hit those spots, that God would kind of tap me on the shoulder, and little things just to get me through spots. Friend that I've worked with for years, super guy, not a Christian, not a churchgoer, but just a super guy, a super moral guy. Been a really good friend. I named Malcolm Day. He still in the car business. The most honest car person I know to this day. Happened to talk. He called me this out of the clear blue, and I started telling him what was going on. He said, "Man, I have no idea. No idea whatsoever." He said, "I hate to hear that." Well, we hang up after talking for 30 minutes or so, and about 4 days later, we get out. And I open up, and there's a letter in there that says, "I've always respected you. You've always been one of the most honest guys I've ever met." Starts complimenting me and said, "I hate to see people going through what you're going through, especially you and your family. And here's 4 $100 bills in there." Now that sounds like, of course, we take that at any time, but when you were buried as bad as I was at the time, $400 didn't do a whole lot. But it got me through that time. It got me. My dog Ridley at the time needed to go to the vet, and we weren't able to talk. We weren't able to take anything. We were eating peanut butter and jelly and bologna. So spending a couple of hours on taking our dog to the vet. Sorry, Rig, you're on your own here. You're going to have to get better. So, we got that. I said, we can take Ridley to the vet. So we take Ridley to the vet. We come home, and I remember the same computer chair. I don't know what it is about this computer chair, but everything seemed to happen right there. I'm sitting at the computer, and I go, you know what? We're going to go get something to eat. And that shouldn't be something to get emotional about, but being able to take $30 and take my wife and go get some shrimp someplace, it just felt normal. It felt like, wow, I feel like a normal person. We get to go get something to eat. So, we all need to come home. Time goes on. I get another friend, a buddy of mine named Mark Beckwood. In fact, the teachers have probably met him. He's the one that handles our 403B and that kind of stuff and all the investments. That's Mark. Well, Mark knew I was going to, and he helped a couple times. Well, he's going on a trip up to Atlanta to meet a friend up there and play some golf. So he takes me with him. And of course, they don't let me pay for anything. We play golf 2 or 3 times at some of the nicest courses you can play. And I know what they're doing. They're just trying to get my head off of it, trying to get me, hey, let's just get away from it. It didn't cost me anything. But a buddy that we stay up with, there's a guy named Chris Legger. He's a CFO, CPO, I don't know what C's that you get. Way up on one of the biggest credit unions up in Atlanta. And we go up and stay with him. Well, we get home, and his kids are like sons to me. So we've always had a really good relationship. He used to live here in Jacksonville and play softball together. And I get home about a week later, here's an envelope shows up. No return address. There's just a piece of paper wrapped around a $500 cashier's check with no name on it. So, but the postmark said Atlanta. I only know one person in Atlanta, so I knew it was from Chris. He was, trying to do it under the table or something like that. I wanted to call him and thank him. I said, Chris, I'm broke, I'm unemployed, I'm a loser, but I'm not an idiot, okay? Thanks, but I knew it was from you. So, well, that $500, that saved our van. At a time where 2 weeks later, if we don't make a payment on it, they take it. Well, our van has a lift in it for Rachel. So without the van, we got no way to get Rachel anyway. So, boom, saves the van full. And a little while after that, my sister, of course, she knew what was going on, and we talked for quite a while on the phone, and she kept saying, I just wish I could do something, I wish I could do something, I wish I could do something. And about 2 weeks later, it was the mail again. And I opened it up, and there was a letter in there, and there was a $4,000 check. And she had cashed in her contact us fell out. Alright, let's see if we can do this. We need a moment here anyway. We're getting flipped. Alright. Think it'll work. That's God's timing. He knows what's going on. He knows I need to write. I'm very careful writing that, but I won't be able to see it. But now I can write this one as hard as I can. That's the beauty of it. So anyways, here's a check for $4,000 and she had cashed in her 401k and sent me the money. Good grief. That saved the house. Because we were a matter of about a month away that if we didn't pay a certain amount, it was going to be officially foreclosed on. They put your stuff in the driveway and see you later. The stairs, they lock the locks on the doors, and there you go. So, right at the perfect times, when I thought I can't get any lower, that there's no hope whatsoever, just little nudges by God that would help out. My favorite story about this time, I know you're thinking I should be done by now. God help us. I used to play basketball. I went to Westside Baptist for years until we started working here. But every Sunday night we used to play basketball. I would open the gym and have probably 30 guys in there. There would be me and 29 guys that weren't white. Okay, so it would be me and all of them. All of them played overseas ball professionally. They played in some local college stuff. They were all really good players. So we had some really good runs. But I'd have 20 to 30 guys in there every Sunday night, and we'd always take a break and have devotions halfway through, and that was, my chance to kind of share with them. And one night they all left and I was cleaning up and I found a gold chain laying against the wall. Well, don't forget, this is back when everything's going great. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, a gold chain, look at this, I'm rich. And I remember coming back the next couple of weeks, hey, anybody lose this? I found this last week, anybody know who this is? And no one ever told me. This is really weird with my contacts in right there on the thing. It's like a little piece, like a little bubble wrap sitting right there. I gotta cover up, it's killing me. Alright, there we go. I know, it's that one's gone, so, but anyways, so I take this chain, and you guys have seen the shows about hoarders, that kind of stuff that, supply. It's not me, okay, I'm the other way. I'm super neat about stuff, everything has to be square, that kind of thing. I'm on the edge of having, ADD or whatever it is that you, what is it? OCD, yeah, sorry, I use more acronyms, okay? So, for me, I have a bunch of shoe boxes in the top of my closet. I mean, I literally have 15 in one and 15 in another. And every time I get a new pair of shoes, I keep the box, and then, like, if I clean a drawer, the stuff that I need, I'll, instead of throwing it out, I can use that something, and I'll put it in that shoe box. And so, these shoe boxes are full of all these little knickknacks, and if you look, you just throw it straight to garbage. But the number of times that Jill says, man, I'm trying to fix something, I'm like, hang on, give me a second. And I go find something in the shoebox, and I'm able to jury rig it and put it together. I said, it's the power of the shoebox, I told you. So here's how pathetic I was at the time, okay? I told you the house had to be clean for Jill, which the house was already clean. So I'm reorganizing the junk in my shoeboxes while Jill was at work, all right? That's the depths of where I was at now. So I'm reorganizing. I come across this chain. Now it's 10 years after I had put that chain in that shoebox. 10 years. And I pull it out and I look, and it said, I don't remember, it was 24 karat or whatever it was on the last, and I said, where the clasp, sorry, not the last, it's wrong. And I said, what the heck, I'll take it to a pawn shop and we'll see what it's worth. Well, we had got enough on a income tax return, a few $100s that we were able to buy just a little piece of garbage car, okay, that was 95 Lumina with 100 million miles on it, but the air worked and it drove so it would get us back and forth, so at least we had the second car. Well, that thing had broke down, and it was in the shop. And I'll never forget the exact number. We get it in there, the guy calls me, I said, what's the estimate? He goes, it's going to be $446. He might as well have said it's going to be $8 trillion, sir, because it didn't matter anything he said over 20 bucks, I was out. And I'd already sold everything I had that I could to try to generate money. I sold a weight set, an exercise bike, I sold my paintball gun, which I'm still a little bitter about to this day. But I sold one of my handguns, so I mean, I didn't have anything else I could sell. And he says it's $446. I said, don't fix it. I said, boy, that's cool when that happens. I said, let me start checking around and see what I can do to find something. So it was after that I started organizing these shoe boxes. And I find this chain, I take it to the pawn shop. And she weighs it, the lady does, and she's going, click, and doing her calculated thing. And I'm convinced of something, okay? I may be wrong, but I get a little different view of God sometimes. I think I don't think he sits up there. He never does anything. He talks in a deep voice, that kind of thing. I think God's pretty cool. At least that's how I want to picture him, okay? If I get up there and he goes, why would you picture me like that? Then I'll know that I was wrong. But I picture him as being pretty cool. And here's what I believe. I believe 10 years earlier, when I picked up that chain, I picture him doing this. I picture him, angels everywhere say, hey, come here, watch this. I want you to remember something here, okay? Watch this. And I pick it up and I go, what? You see that chain? They go, yeah. Just remember that I showed you this, okay? They probably weren't like, what's God talking about? I'm on the road. So, well, here we are 10 years later. I'm standing at this counter, waiting for this lady to pick it up. I swear to you, I'm hoping, please be worth $100. Please be worth $100. And she finishes adding it up and she goes, do you remember how much the car was? $446. She goes, I can give you $447. And I went, I quivered a little bit. I went, what did you say? She said, I can give you $447. And she didn't even have the end on the end of it. I'll take it. I wanted it immediately. But, my view again, here we are with God. He called everybody back over. Hey. Remember that chain? Remember what I told you? Watch this. Wait for it. Watch this. What I tell you. Watch this. Here it comes. And then her going 447, him going boom! And them going, how'd you know he was doing this? Let me handle this small stuff, okay? He's excited about stuff like that. I know God had a big grin on his face going, just hang in there, man. I got you. So, you know, Jill comes home, I get to take her to pick the car up, and how are we gonna pay for it? I got this, don't worry about it. Like I was all cool, like I had something to do with it. Got done, we had that one single bill. Look at that, we're rich. Single dollar bill. So, but the fact that he knew 10 years earlier what that change was going to do for me, it just done. It amazes me when he knows stuff like that, when he does stuff. When you look back and you go, that's not chance. That's not luck. Okay? That's not a coincidence. It doesn't happen that way. So, a blessing such as it was at the time, but still the fact is, no job. Yeah, we can pick up my $300 car, which the repair was more than the car was on. And I don't know what God's doing. I know He's blessing me over here and there, but I don't know what He's doing. And but this time, I was literally, I wasn't begging God to do this or do that. I was asking God, not for a light at the end of the tunnel. I specifically remember asking Him for a pinhole at the end of the tunnel. I can remember laying flat on my stomach in the middle of my living room, with my face in the carpet, hands up, feet up, saying, God, I'm begging you. Just specifically, give me a pinhole. Tell me what's going on. Give me some kind of hope that this is all going to end. And, you know, of course, at the time, I didn't just jump up and, you know, there was I won the lottery or something, or nothing like that happened, but I just couldn't find any light. Now, a lot of that was me being self-consumed and not looking at things the way that I should have. But my birthday rolls around, and I remember Jill throwing me a party. And for some of you guys, Coach Costa knows, and I think I've given some to Doc before. My wife makes the best German chocolate cake on the entire planet, so it's fantastic. Am I right, Coach? Where you at? Is Coach Costa in here?
Right here.
He's not in here? Okay. Am I right? It's the best. So she threw a party for me, and for some reason, I still don't know why, but she invites a bunch of people over and says, I come to find out later, they're all just bringing envelopes. There's no gifts or anything like that. And so I'm dying, okay? So I'm sneaking in a couple of envelopes, you know, I don't care what the card says. I want to see if there's a gift card or something in there, right? I want to see if there's money. Nothing. Nobody had anything. I get to like card number 10 or 11, I don't have a dime on everything. No, nothing. They know I'm dying here, I don't get anything. Well, Jill had told everybody, don't worry about bringing gifts, just come for cake. Like, why would you do that? I don't understand it. So, you know, I said, so what? Let's just eat cake and we'll go on. Well, little did I know, I got one gift that day. And after all the downtime, after all the gut-wrenching stuff that I'd gone through, after all the pain that I'd suffered, not physical pain, but, you know, heart-wrenching, mind-altering pain, who would ever guess that the answer to my prayer, my gift that I got that day, came in the form of the head football coach and athletic director of Trinity Christian Academy, Verlin. I'm sitting at the computer, and here, the computer again, the same chair, okay? I'm sitting at the computer, I think Tom Nestor was standing behind me, I was pulling up a picture or something to show, I can't remember what it was, I'm not going to get over this. And Verlin's talking to him behind me, Verlin's sitting on the couch behind me. And I hear Verlin go, man, I gotta find a PE teacher. Here I sit, you know, I'm typing away, and it took a second to register on me. And I spun around, dude, my major was in physical education. And he gets this look on his face, he goes, oh, I never thought of that. Why would he? You know, he's not thinking that I'm ready to teach someplace. So he said, I never even thought about that. He said, I said, I'm like a month away from finishing my degree. And Tom goes, I'll tell you what, come by see me do an application, blah, blah, blah. Started the ball rolling, okay? I never really thought that anything was going to work out, but those two get to work. And Tom, you know, greased the skids some and helped out and so forth. And after a couple thousand interviews, I swear I interviewed everybody here except for the a janitor. They had me talk to every single person that was on staff. Trey would have been here, I would have talked to Trey too. But nothing had been, it's like, hey, you're getting it. It was still all this process and everything going. And I tell you what, I was this close to being in charge of financial aid for the college. So it was really between that and teaching. And I had an interview that kind of went south with the person that I talked to. And I remember coming out of there, and because I was leaning toward the other job. Because Tom had said, look, anytime I want to get you out to go play golf, I'll play golf. Let me know, this is my job, I'm in. Never mind what I should be doing, I just wanted to be able to get out and play golf if I wanted to. So, I'm up in Atlanta, my buddy took me back up there for another golf trip, and I'm sitting at a pizza place, and I see my phone ring, and it's Tom Messer. I go, I gotta step outside and take this. So I step outside, and I remember it was about 65 degrees, it was beautiful outside, there was a cloud in the sky, and as soon as I said hi to Tom, he goes, all right, listen. He goes, I'm holding your contract in my hand right now. He said, you're officially hired by Trinity Christian Academy. Okay, he said you're going to teach Bible, you're going to teach PE. Now, I was just planning on teaching PE, and Tom would call me back one day and he said, would you consider teaching Bible? Well, I said, Bible? I never really thought about it. And hung up, he said, I said, can I let you know? Call back 10 minutes later. I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. How bad can I be? I guess we'll find that out. But it's that's how I wanted to be in Bible. Because it was between me and Coach Martin. And it was to the point where it was going to be, they were only going to hire one of us. So the way they split it, where he does the 9th grade and does, we're on opposite shifts. That's how both of us wound up getting to be here. You know that part, did you? I don't even know I guess he knew that part, I don't know. But anyways, so they wound up hiring me. And here I'm at age 49, starting a brand new career. Really no idea of what God had been doing all this time. But all of a sudden I'm thrust into a spot where, now I know that I'm doing exactly what God wants me to do. And it's not easy to get to that position. It's not, if you ever get to find that spot, it's a good place to be. And now you're asking yourself, why did I tell you the story? Right? And you think we're about done, but we're not. So. Guess who did that all the time? Guess who did that all the time? Jesus! Now, no, I'm not, I don't want to get even more, I'm not saying that, but, that's the only way for me to get a point across to you sometimes, okay? Me just getting up here and trying to break down scripture, please. We'll leave that to the good speakers, okay? All I can do is just tell you, I've got, 58 years of stories that I can tell you. But here's why I tell you that story, okay? I want you to understand that sometimes it has to be painful for God to get you where He wants you. All right? The Bible says several times about going through a fire. All right? And it takes that sometimes, and it's painful. Listen, I would have much rather lost my job at Gordon and the next day talk to somebody and say, hey, how'd you like to make the same amount of money and come teach? I'd go, oh man. All right? But there's no point when I was in the car business and making $100,000 a year that you could have come to me and said, hey, how'd you like to make a third of what you're making now and come teach and coach? Come on. I'd have gone, are you crazy? There's no chance in the world. And all those jobs that I talked about losing, there's not one of them that had I been able to hang on to that I would have left to come teach. Now, part of that's probably on me. All right, I should have been willing. If the opportunity ever would come up, I should have been willing. The opportunity never came up until he had beat me down to nothing and left me broken and absolutely, completely humiliated to the point where I'd have done anything. I don't want to say that I had to take the only, that I'm not comparing that to teaching. But he had to get me to that point for me to have been willing to take a job making as much less as I had made then. So it's tough sometimes for God to get us where he wants us to be at, but also it's not always easy to understand why he's doing what he's doing. And I never understood it. Look. Larson. You guys all know Larson. Okay? Normal kid. He's you. Okay? He's you. He wasn't some kid walking around with a sign on and said, hey, you're going to be 6 someday. He's you. Any more than you think that could happen to you, that was Larson. Okay? Hey, Larson's one of the only people in the history of this school that's ever beat me on ping pong. Alright? Larson had a little bit of skill. Now, he only beat me once. I probably beat him 75 times, but he beat me once. Okay? I see you shaking your head. You can bring something. Okay? I'll play it. But here's Larson. Normal kid. You, right? You. Walk along one day, boom, starts feeling something. They catch him. They think he's okay. I remember going up and visiting him on Christmas Eve. I took him a ping pong pad. I bought him a decent padded paddle. Took it up. I said, you get out now, you have a better chance, okay? But went up and visited, but he got past that when they thought he was okay. I remember walking in our neighborhood. I lived right around the cul-de-sac from him. And I remember in the garage one time I looked and he was walking, just taking a walk. I was like, hey, Carson, how's he going? A couple of days later, bam! Down. Now all the challenges that he's going through, all the physical, all the mental, all the learning how to walk again, learning how to write again, learning how to feed yourself again. Okay, hey, what did he do? Did he do anything to deserve that? Of course he didn't. Any more than any of you would have. Okay? Fighting, scratching, and trying, gets himself on his back in school. Able to walk around, able to go to classes. Able to actually do some work. Used to always write jokes and leave them on the board in my room. So I did school to erase them, but anyways, he'd always put jokes on my erase board. And making progress, coming along, fighting, scratching, boom! Has another one. Not that one isn't bad enough, he has another one. Now he doesn't go back to ground zero, but half of the gains that he's made, he's doing all over again. So what's he thinking? What's his mom thinking and his dad thinking? See, what you guys don't think about is the challenges that are going on in a family like that. The stuff that happens, all the hospital, all the time you have to be asleep at the hospital. The bills that are piling up. How it affects your family, how it affects your finances, how it affects your marriage. But here they are going through that. I talked to her about this. I got to read you something that she wrote me. Because I asked her, I said, what's been your thought of God during this? How do you look at it? What do you think? Is he the same or how do you feel? And she said, look, I've struggled. She said, there's been plenty of times that I struggled with it. But listen. And this is from somebody who's been through this. Okay? This isn't from somebody who just said, well, I'm going to write something and see how it sounds. Okay? This is somebody who's still in the middle of it. Still in the middle of the storm. His continual presence, the messages of favorite songs, the example of others who've endured trials with joy, and the many prayers that are being said on our behalf. Often these thoughts of encouragement come to me spontaneously when I'm struggling as the Holy Spirit is ministering to me. Occasionally I'm battling within myself and I have to actively remind myself and my fear of the things I know to be true, despite present circumstances. Either way, I come back to that place of peace, comfort, and even joy. That foundation of knowing and absolutely trusting that God is in control and will never leave us or forsake us. That's part of what I'm trying to get you guys to get. Of what I'm trying to get you to understand by telling you these stories, by telling you stuff that you go through. That's your God. If you're saved and if you know Him, that's your God. This is your God right here. And if you're not having a relationship with Him, if you're not living for Him, then that is going right by you. Doesn't mean He doesn't care for you, doesn't mean He doesn't still love you. But having that availability, having that peace that she's talking about right there, you're missing that. And believe me when I tell you, you're missing out on something that's literally beyond description. The kickers. Some of the strongest people I know. Mom, sit down on the couch. Take a nap with your son. Oh, we gotta wake him up. Go wake him up, he's gone. Gone. No. No. Oh, let me do something. Oh, what can I do? Gone. Try to fathom it. Try to fathom it. Your son, 4-year-old son. Think of the questions you have. Think of I'm a grandparent. Dr. Kinger's a grandparent. A lot of us in here are. Thought of that happened to one of my babies. I don't know if I can take it. I really don't. I guess time heals everything to some extent, but I don't know if I can take it. But I talked a couple weeks ago, I told her I was going to speak, and I might mention it. And she stood in the back and she was telling me about some of the stuff that she'd been doing, and most of it, the middle portion of being able to let it go. And here's what she told me. Tom Messer, he spoke one time, and here's the quote that she said was what got her through this. When she finally was able to let it go, she said, here's what he said. He said, worry means I don't have control. In other words, I worry about stuff when I'm the one trying to handle it. Okay? I don't have control. What can I do to make a difference? That's worry. She said, but rest means I don't need control. So in other words, when she said, when I finally got to the point that I went, you know what? He knows what he's doing. And it's enough for me. I can let that go, I can rest. She said it was almost a physical relief when I was able to get that peace and go. Because guess what? She never gets to find out what happened to her son. Never. They still don't know. How's that happen? How's that happen? How can anybody die and not be able to find out what it is? They don't have any idea. So all the whys and the questions and all the stuff that she's saying about, God, why would you do this? Why would you let me know? At least tell me what happened. Tell me if I could have done something different. All those thoughts that are going through her head. And God gives her peace. When she finally comes to the point and says, you know what? You know what you're doing. I can handle it. That's enough for me. Mr. Sylvie. I swear I didn't walk into the middle school teacher's lounge. I expect to bump into him. I swear every time I ever walked in there, I bumped into him. I still don't walk in there. We got a little picture of him up on one of the doors there. So I see his picture, but I walk in, I expect to see him. He's not there, then I have to remember, oh, yeah, he's not with us anymore. And a bunch of you kids, if not almost all of you, wind up having it at some point or another. Good man, great man of God. Gets cancer. My room used to be next to his, back over in the end building. Classes would get done, he'd always slip over there. We'd start talking. Every day our conversation was what was he able to eat, because he had cancer in his esophagus, I think it was. Well, I could only get jello down today, or water, or whatever the case. And it was a big thing when he was able to eat a piece of meat, or have a piece of pasta, or something like that. And they talk about, yeah, I pushed a little too much, and I threw up blood and everything else, and wasn't able to eat. So gets past that, beats cancer, gets declared cancer-free. You're good to go. They tell him, look, if you can make it 5 years, you're home free. Year 4, he's out hunting. Gets a little pain in his back. They said, maybe you pulled something. He goes, it ain't that kind of pain. Doctor, hey, you have a tumor wrapped around your spine that's inoperable. Essentially saying you're done. Short time later, all of a sudden, he can't do anything from his shoulders down. Paralyzed. Trying to do therapy with him, trying to do all that stuff. And he sees no progress. Man, take me home. This doesn't make any sense. Goes through all the measures and says, you know what? There's no sense in it. I remember several teachers saying they went to see him, and Mr. Hersey said, yeah, he said, I went to visit him trying to pick him up. He said, he wound up encouraging me. I left there being encouraged, not him. Called his wife, talked to her. He said, what can you tell me? Tell me what he was thinking. Tell me did he talk about heaven? I've never talked to anybody that, look, I am dying. I am going to be dead soon. I haven't had that. I've known people that had cancer and it was going to happen, or I've had them die, but I never got to talk to anybody and say, hey, what do you think about it? What do you think about God allowing this to happen? And she said, you know what? He never talked about heaven. Said it wasn't that he didn't believe it. Obviously he believed it. But she said, his biggest concern? Here's his biggest concern. The thing that bothered him one day. I said, was he ever bitter over what happened? She said, no. She said, he looked at it like he had 5 years of bonus time. He got 5 extra years to see a couple of grandkids born, got to do some other stuff. But she said, he never got bitter. I never heard him complain to God. I never heard him ask God why. She said, I never did either. He said, what his biggest concern was? It's the kids. You guys. He said, I'm scared to death that they're going to get mad at God, that they're going to lose their faith because they've been praying for me and I want them dying. That it's all or nothing prayer. That was his biggest concern, was how you would feel about it. That it would affect you for the rest of your life. No concerns for himself. None. Zero. All the stuff he could have done to extend his life, he didn't do it. And in talking to his wife, she said, here was the thing. She said, we didn't have a verse that this pulled us through. She said, we didn't have a song that pulled us through. She said, and her exact words, she said, it was just there. We knew. We never doubted it. We never questioned it. We never thought anything different. It was just there. It was God. We knew exactly what he was doing. We didn't know why, but the peace was always there. And she said, I'll tell you this much. She said, when you talk to those kids, you tell them this. You tell them it's coming. And it is. You're young. Listen, the last thought I want is for you guys to have to go do any of the kind of stuff. Mine or some of the people I've talked about here. That's not, you just wait, I hope we get you. That's not at all what I'm talking about, okay? But it's coming. And I know some of you are suffering through stuff even now. Stuff with your parents, stuff with your home, stuff with your friends, with work, with schoolwork, the struggles that you have, physical struggles, all that kind of stuff. We've all got stuff that we're going through. And I know you guys go through it as well, but the really hard stuff, having to deal with those things. She said, if they don't have that relationship and they don't have that peace, it's going to be 1,000 times tougher to deal with. So what I want you guys to understand, if you don't take anything else out of this, and chances are you take absolutely nothing out of it, but if you take anything out of this, is for me, and I wish I could experience this in the middle of my storm. I didn't get it until afterwards. That I finally came to the realization that he knew what he was doing the whole time. The chain, not letting me get the jobs that I would have stayed at, helping me with the little checks here and there from people that were doing his work for him. I didn't know what he was doing, but when I finally came to the realization that not only that I knew he knew, all right, God, I now know you know what you're doing. But when I fully within myself said, knowing that you know is enough for me. I don't care about knowing anymore. You don't have to tell me. I don't need to ask why. I don't need an explanation. You know what you're doing. The peace that comes with that, with being able to say, he's got it, and I don't have to worry about it. That's what I don't want you to miss out on. Because see, listen, one of my favorite verses in this whole mess, everything that came up, was, be still and know I'm God. Be still and know I'm God. And here's what, again, and I'll end with this. This is always my vision of heaven. I'm never going to do this. When you're going through those hard times, and you don't know it when you're in the storm, all right? When you're in the middle of it, and the waves are crashing, and the wind's blowing, and you are like, I've got no hope. The fact is, if you know him, if you're one of his children, the fact is, you can picture him like this, because here's what he's saying. All right? You can picture him. And I picture him like this with me all that time. When I was struggling, my heart was breaking, when I didn't know what in the world he was doing. That all reality the whole time. He's got his arm around me, holding on, and got his hand up to my ear. If I would have listened, if I would have known. The whole time he's got a hold of me, he got his hand up. He's going, shh. Shh. Be still. Be still. I'm God. It gives me goosebumps. To think about that. To think of him holding on to us. Saying, you can know that I'm God. I've got this. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I don't want you to miss out on that. All right, let's pray. Father, thanks for this time. Lord, I don't know how I feel about these kids anymore. I just ask you to bless them, help them with whatever they're going through. Help them with the things they're going to face further on in life. God, just help them know that you're there. Help them know not just who you are, but what you're like. And how much you love them, and how much you care for them, how much you want good for them. That you don't want bad things for them. That sometimes some of those bad things are what makes them a better person and draws them closer to you. Because there's not any question that all the closest I've ever been to you was in the middle of that storm. So help them to understand that. Give them strength. Give them close relationships with you so that when they face those storms that they can know that you're there. And we thank you for being like that, for being that type of God, for being our Father, for being our friend, for never leaving us, for never forsaking us, and for always being God. Bless us through the weekend. Bring us back safe next week. Thank you again for what you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Coach Willis, we're glad you took your time. We're glad you took your time with it. Shannon, can we give it up one more time for Coach Willis? Can we just hear the air horn real quick? Can we hear the air horn? Can we hear the air horn real quick? Just for